Hi Virgo, welcome to your reading for April 2023. My name is Jennifer. Most people just call me Jen, but welcome. So today's reading is for the next 30 days for whenever you come across this video. And we're just going to see what came out. We already pulled a couple of cards, and then I'm going to also pull some more cards. That way we can get some more information if we need to. But I do want to talk about the first thing that I noticed was that a lot of what you guys are sort of working out in the next 30 days is involving the theme of fear of letting people in a deeper way than you have in the past, and also too around themes of friendship. So this doesn't necessarily have to be like purely platonic friendships. This could be romantic relationships where maybe you felt like there wasn't that theme of friendship in the relationship, and so you're really sort of getting the opportunity to deepen that dynamic. Or again, if this is just purely friendships, getting an opportunity to either like make friends or to open yourself up to kind of let friends come into your life. One thing that comes to mind for me is for people who may have had experiences when they were younger with like bullying, or maybe like in the family unit not feeling accepted for who they were. This could be a lot of different things in how this plays out, but there is also this feeling of like, as you've kind of gotten older or just come across different relationships, it may have been really hard for you to let those people in because there was sort of this fear of like, well, if I let people in to a certain extent, are they just going to leave? Or are they going to find out that they don't like me and then I'm going to have to be alone? And so sort of this energy of trying to navigate, how do I let people in while also recognizing that me letting people in, yes, it could result in people leaving, but also sort of recognizing that in the space that's left open for people who don't sort of click with me and who I am as an individual, that other friendships or other relationships are able to kind of step in. So I'm not necessarily saying that these things, relationships, friendships are going to go badly. Honestly, I was really nosy and tried to pick extra information to see like, okay, if this is the friendship, like what does this kind of look like? And the card that came out for you guys was core values, which for me always talks about something that is very much so aligned with who we are as a person. So you guys living out your life will kind of know where you fall into those categories. So I'm talking you guys' ears off and not even showing you the cards. How dare I? All right, so I'm trying to figure out which ones I want to go over first. So let's talk about these cards because we kind of brought up the conversation of fear a little bit. So this first card here you have very clearly, it says fear. Okay. And then you also have this card here that says work through your fears. So in the next 30 days, and also this doesn't have to just be constricted to the next 30 days. A lot of the work that we end up doing takes much longer than just the 30 days, but at least in this time period, you're noticing maybe like an influx in, some of the emotions that come around this, or just like more opportunities to kind of work on this. But yeah, with the fear and work through your fears, this for me is really saying like there's going to be this purposeful action that you take in the next 30 days where you're realizing how uncomfortable you feel about doing something, how uncomfortable you feel about moving forward with something, especially in regards to friendships or romantic relationships. There's sort of this feeling of wanting to give up, no judgment, right? Because I feel like the fear gets so big that you're just kind of like, all right, I think I need to just go. Like something must be wrong here, that sort of feeling. So I feel like this reading kind of comes in to say like, okay, wait, you know what? There may not be something wrong here. This is, if you're resonating with this, most likely just fear of, not being accepted for who you are as a person. But yeah, there's this purposeful action that you take in recognizing that there is fear here about digging into a relationship or getting more intimate with a friend or with a partner, and kind of opening up in spite of that fear. Because I don't get the feeling necessarily that the fear is going to go away. And so then you kind of feel open to engage in these connections. It's more so the fear becomes very apparent to you, and then you're at sort of like this fork in the road of, all right, am I going to walk away, or am I going to get even deeper into this dynamic with this person? So the next two cards that I want to talk about are, and sorry if you see my eyes moving, this is my first time trying to record my face while doing these readings, and I do not know where to look. Um, but yeah, so the first one says your commitment is being tested. So if you can see this one. All right. And then we also have a time for healing. So, what I want to say with these two cards is this. One thing that you guys are healing is largely what we've just been talking about, where you're healing this part of you that feels like you can't be yourself around people, that it's not safe to be you. This part of you that feels like you have to dim down your light. This part of you that feels like, for example, if you are interacting with people, you may feel that you have to give 50% of the energy that you really would. Like maybe you're a very outgoing person. Maybe you like to make a lot of jokes and you like to be very goofy around people that you like and want to get to know, and instead you may have this habit of being very quiet, and people may assume that you're shy, which, yeah, you may be feeling shy or maybe feeling anxious in a situation. But I say shy is in the sense of the way in which people kind of perceive you right now is like 50% of who you really are. I hope that makes sense. So there's just sort of like this, I want to say like inner desire to be able to be you, to be goofy. I kind of like really relate to you guys in that sense. Like I feel like I also kind of do that same thing a little bit. Definitely not easy. And because it's a saying that your commitment is being tested, it also makes me feel like you guys are going to have this, again, this aspect of you that's going to have to not give in, I guess, to the fear. That's so easy for me to say, right? Like the fear, each person is different, right? And like how we experience what that is, how strong it is, how much it pulls us to really kind of give up on something. So please understand, I'm not trying to invalidate the experience that you're having with your fear, with any anxiety that's coming up for you. I want to just sort of like speak to the experience of what you may find takes place in spite of, that anxiety and fear. So you may be finding that you still have to sort of push through that experience, kind of stay committed to the cause. I think that's the best way I can think about it when it says your commitment is being tested. Like you're kind of committing to opening up in spite of the fear. And then because this is a time for healing, when you are committed to opening up in spite of the fear, you find that one of two things or both. I think of one, getting to figure out which people in your lives are really connected to you on a core value level. Like you guys really match in like your morals and your values and your needs and your wants, or just simply being able to like meet the needs of the other person and to meet the wants of the other person in ways that feel healthy. Also too, I feel like for some of my Virgos here, breaking this habit or pattern that may feel codependent to you, where you're so afraid of people abandoning you or not accepting you that you kind of alter in a way where no matter what you can kind of get them to stay. And so I feel like that's breaking down a little bit in these next 30 days in April, breaking down in a way where you don't feel so much like you need to take any person or take anything from a person. Hopefully that makes sense. So yeah, so healing a lot here. And two, I want to mention that in this process also too, feeling like you are able to be more of yourself because you are not feeling like you need to change or alter who you are, dim who you are, accept people who don't really feel aligned with you or don't really feel good to be in relationship with. And although say for example, this is not a current experience that you're having, you may find that the work that you do with people that you can trust now here in the moment kind of bleeds out into future dynamics. So say for example that this is a friendship that you're thinking of, the work that you do with this friend and opening up to them in spite of the fear and talking about your needs and talking about your wants. Say in the future, if you are interested in something like a romantic relationship, the work that you kind of did with that friend, really making it quite clear to future romantic partners that I'm not willing to settle. Like I have my needs and wants. I have the morals and values that I find important to share with a partner, etc., etc. So just kind of knowing that whatever work you end up doing in this area will bleed out into more than just this one relationship that this may relate to, or this one group of people that this may relate to in the present moment. So the next cards that we have here are playful and gezellig. And so the playful card for me gives this feeling of like the goofiness that we were talking about. Like I feel like you guys want to like this doesn't have to be for all of you, but like it gives me, sleepover vibes, even if we're like, adults. Like, okay, I want to do a sleepover, I want to do a pajama party. And like, having people in your life where it's okay to like do those sorts of things, like wearing matching onesies type vibes. And like, if you are maybe like a type of person who wants to do like, what are those things, like snack boards for like the first letter of your name. So like my name is Jen, so I'm gonna bring a snack board with, I don't know, a bunch of juicy fruit. I don't even think that's how it works, but like you kind of get the point. Like there's just things that are related to your personality that I feel like you are maybe haven't really had the opportunity to do with friends, and that you're going to get to do with friends, that you're going to start to test out and share with friends that you want to do. Maybe you want to do something like a road trip. Maybe you want to go to a rave. Maybe you want to do a picnic. Everyone's personality is different, but whatever those things are that are very unique to you, share those with the people that you kind of want to do them with, and see what they say. See where you guys overlap in the activities that you'd like to do. Maybe you want to go on a picnic and they're not really an outdoorsy person, but maybe you guys both share wanting to go to like a dance party or a club or something, that sort of thing. Like you're finding the overlap so that you can enjoy that with that individual, and then with another person, finding the overlap there as well. And then the gezellig card for me usually talks about this essence of being like really cozy. So again, I feel like there is this, number one, like a need to feel very close and comfortable with a person, but two, also that the relationship makes you feel at ease. So I think that you guys are going to be figuring out, how do specific individuals make you feel, like tapping more into your gut instinct, into your intuition. I like to explain intuition as like a mix of lived experience and the knowledge that we drew from that, and that feeling that it's like, I don't know why I know that, but I just do. Like I feel like it's sort of like a mix of those things. So yeah, use that feeling to glean out who feels good for you, who doesn't feel good for you, who makes you feel good, who doesn't make you feel good. But also too, there is a sense of getting to figure out why that is. So say for example, you are in a romantic relationship and you've been debating, do I really still want to stay here? And let's say for example, you start to get really clear on your individual needs, your wants, your morals, and your values. And then you find out that, this is just an example, say that someone finds out that their partner that they've been with doesn't really care to cater to their partner's needs, but they want their needs to be catered to. So then that could explain the discomfort or unease or lack of like that cozy feeling that they have in a dynamic. Alternately, say we have a friend who makes us feel really cozy, and we start to realize that it is because they check in on us and they listen to us without feeling like they need to interject and talk about their day. Like they kind of give us the opportunity to talk first. And then when it seems like a natural break in conversation, or, both people kind of get checked on. So that sort of thing. So you're really getting clear on why dynamics make you feel a certain way, why certain people make you feel a certain way, so that you can also feel very confident in whatever decision you decide to make, whether that is to stay in a relationship, whether platonic or relationship, or even with family, right? Or to walk away from something. So we also have here gratitude. It says, and I was about to try to read that backwards on the camera, y'all. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. So I'm like, I damn sure cannot read this. Okay, it says, I'm sorry. It says, gratitude. I am thankful for this life and the opportunities that it presents. So for me, that card brings up a feeling of like that feeling of joy. I think that's the word that I would describe that emotion, like a feeling of joy when you get past that feeling of fear. Like that's what I kind of think of. where we were afraid that we wouldn't get accepted, and we share something with someone, like we share a need with them or we share a want with them, and there is acceptance, there is acknowledgement of that, and that emotion that comes afterwards, however you would explain that emotion in your experience. So I feel like this card is kind of coming in to say that that is an experience that you will get to have, and wanting to come in just to kind of let you know that in spite of some of the hesitance and fear that you may have, that it is not a clue into necessarily an end result of an experience. And that if any of my Virgos come to find that, say you do share a need or you do share a want, again, kind of how we talked about previously, that if a person does not want to be equal in you acknowledging their needs and them acknowledging your needs, that it is opening up a space for someone who will do that, because you know that it is important for you to get those things met and that you're not going to settle for someone who isn't taking care of you in the same way that you're taking care of them. So the next one we have here is perseverance. I know that I can do whatever I set my mind to. So this is sort of like that, I feel like a mental shift, or like I feel like for a couple of these readings, for the April zodiac readings, I've been getting this word of like, just be delusional. Like, you don't even have to believe it, just do it. Like that sort of feeling. So I feel like that's what the perseverance kind of gives me energy wise as well. Like pretending like we're not afraid, even though we are afraid, that sort of feeling. So this could just be for a few of you guys, Virgo, where maybe that's an approach that would really help you to make a change, or to bring up a conversation, or to speak on something, or to ask a certain question, because there is sort of this aspect that like maybe you don't actually feel like you can do whatever you set your mind to. Maybe you don't quite believe that. And so being deluded in a sense where even though you don't believe it, you go ahead and do it anyway, may actually get you the result that you're looking for. And then lastly, we have friendship. I understand that a friend is in my life for a reason. So yeah, and you guys get to decide what that reason is. I don't remember where I saw it, but after I saw it, I was like, I really click with this, so maybe you guys do too. I'm paraphrasing as well, but it sort of goes along the lines of like, situations are kind of just as they are, and our spirituality is the meaning that we give to a situation. So let's say, for example, like we see a shooting star. It's just a shooting star, but we can add meaning to that and say that that means that I'm lucky, or that means that I'm going to have good luck for the next 3 days, that sort of thing. So if you have a friendship or a relationship, whether platonic or not, and a certain situation plays out, you have the ability to add a meaning to that situation that benefits your mental health. I think that's the best way I can put it. So let's say, for example, you share with a romantic partner that you have specific needs that you never had an opportunity to talk about, but yet still are very important. So to give an even more specific example, maybe you want to get married and you want to have kids, and you've never had, conversations with your person about this. Were maybe not even clear about these things until recently. So you want to bring these things up. And so let's say you bring these things up and you find out that both you and your person want very different things, and that it may be best to kind of separate so that you can find people who you share these needs and these wants with. So in that situation, we can say that, okay, you broke up, and that's kind of just what the situation is. And then you have the ability to kind of decide what perspective or mindset or meaning you want to add to that. So we can say things like, this is going to give me the opportunity to find someone who is a life partner who's a good match. We could also say something like, this just means that relationships don't work, right? But I think it is usually very obvious that saying one thing over the other can really like cripple us in feeling comfortable to continue to make work or continue to move forward or to face certain fears head on. So I feel like that's sort of something that's coming up for you guys as well, that whether this is like a pleasant experience or not, we could say that we share something and we find that we match with this person, adding meaning to that in a way that you feel like benefits you. So let's see what else we have here. I want to talk about the acceptance card. Oh, I really like this color. It looks so nice. But it says, the heart wants to give it all, but it's also okay to accept your limitations and accept help. Not everything is being asked of you. So for me, this kind of talks about this need to recognize what you are or are not willing to give in a situation. Sometimes we may definitely find that people are asking too much of us. Maybe they want us to be their everything, and that is oftentimes maybe not healthy for a lot of us. Like I'm thinking of an example where we're in a relationship where the person expects us to be their friend, their lover, their therapist, their caregiver, right? Like those sorts of dynamics. And you coming to this realization that like, I can't play all of those roles. That's really draining, but also like I'm not able to play all of those roles. I can't be a therapist. I didn't go to school for that. I don't know how to do that. I can be a support as a partner or as a friend while someone goes and gets assistance or help in a certain way or in a certain place. But I can't necessarily be all of those things to that person. So I feel like that's kind of what this is talking about. It's okay to recognize that we can only be, this, and this for this person, and that I can't be these other things for this person. And also to possibly having communications about that with your people. All right. So the next cards that we have here, I definitely want to read from the books. I feel like they give very clear and concise meanings. But the first one is peace in reverse. And so let's talk about that one before we even get to the second one. Let's just talk about that one. So let me grab the book really quickly. So the essential meaning says freedom from attachment, radical acceptance. And the protection message, since it's in reverse, says, now is the time for calmness and well-being in spite of temporary conditions. Even if there are dissonant notes in the music of your life, all that means is that you must go within and fine-tune the extraordinary instrument that you are. Find harmony within yourself and don't look to the outer world to provide certainty. This too shall pass, and once again your life will be filled with beautiful music. And I also want to read the relationship reading. It says, when two people are in true alignment with one another, they have an innate harmony between them. They are as two perfectly tuned instruments playing together. Sometimes it's impossible to tell who is who. Peace is yours and it is to be savored. So again, this kind of just brings up that same experience of like, if you're goofy, finding other people who are goofy so that you guys can just like act a mess together, enjoy yourself, let your hair down. Maybe you're a horror movie buff and you want to find other people who are really into horror movies, that sort of thing. And also recognizing that, as you share things with people, again, like if you find that you are misaligned with them, you may grieve the loss of relationships, you may grieve the loss of specific people and have to sort of deal with those, emotions, that experience, working through that. And in time, getting to a place where you feel like you can add meaning to a situation if you even find that helpful, right? Because we don't necessarily have to add meaning to situations to move through them or to feel like we can experience some sort of healing in that area. But if you are that type of person, in some time, it's also okay to add meaning to that situation when you feel like it's the right time for you. All right. So the next card that we have here is, this is so pretty. It is security. So what I want to say with this card before I even open up the book is it initially makes me think about wanting to be accepted, wanting to feel like you being yourself, sort of, what's the best way I can put this? Not having to walk on eggshells. That's the best way I can put it. This feels like wanting to be yourself without having to walk on eggshells. So just needing this experience where you can really truly be yourself and know that the other person that you're experiencing these moments or experiencing these shared memories with is not judging you in the back of their mind. Like, I almost feel like some of my Virgos worry that the person that they are dating or the friends that they may have are like, what are they thinking about me? So it's like an anxiety sort of related thing as well. Like, this could be like anxiety related. It doesn't have to be, of course, but there's also like this feeling of like you don't necessarily need proof of the people in your life judging you in one way or another. I think, again, because of like past experiences that you may have had where people, may have said one thing to your face and, been saying another thing behind your back. Maybe for some of you guys, this could be rooted in, childhood bullying. People get bullied as well, like as a teenager or an adult. Just like bullying in general. This could be like passive aggressive sort of situations, maybe for some, where words don't need to be said to kind of like relay how someone is feeling, but you kind of get it passive aggressively. So, there's a lot of different things that may have taken place for my Virgos to kind of validate the fear that you have or are currently experiencing. So I think that's why the message of like the fear may not necessarily go away in order for you to make these changes, because the fear has come up based on experiences that you've had. And so in that way, you're validated in the experience that you're having and the hesitancy that you're having, but also validated in your desire to have relationships where you don't have to walk on eggshells. So let's read this out of the book. Okay, so this says, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read the parts that are pertinent to what we're talking about today. But it says here, insecurities and a lack of self-confidence have a habit of manifesting. Feeling like an outsider makes it difficult to be positive and fit in. So right now, instead of being on the outside looking in, you have been given the key to let yourself into the witch's cottage for a while, where you will find all you need to become strong enough to deal with everything that is hurled at you. And then it also says, let others in instead of shutting them out. You are protected, supported, and safe. Recognize your strengths and talents. A new home awaits. Rediscover your likes and dislikes. Don't try too hard to fit in. So I feel like that is talking about a majority of what we talked about today, right? Like, you're figuring out your needs, your wants, your likes, your wants. You're figuring out who feels like home for you, who doesn't feel like home for you. Remember when we were talking about Giselic and being cozy? And also too, just like recognizing, I like that they mentioned like recognizing your strengths, because we all have strengths even if we don't necessarily recognize them or acknowledge them. But yeah, just like using those things to your advantage to work through what's going on for you guys right now. All right, so the last card that we have here for you guys is, I forgive myself for not sharing what I believe is true out of fear that I may be perceived negatively for it. I choose to believe that my opinion is valuable, and the exploration of multiple perspectives invites the collective experience of greater clarity. So yeah, so this is a self-forgiveness card, and as clear as it's saying, there may be a point where you are working through, some feelings surrounded about not having opened up sooner to the people in your life, not having opened up sooner about your needs or your wants. But really getting to a point where if you ever feel like you need to forgive yourself, or, even if this is not a forgiveness sort of thing, like, I recognize that forgiveness is not a value that everyone has, and you don't need to have that value. So whichever way you approach it, whether it is just simply recognizing that, there were times in which you may have wanted to share your needs and wants and didn't, and recognizing that, it was fear that got in the way, and that's okay. I did the best I could in that moment with the skills that I had, the knowledge that I had, and I made the best of a situation. And that's the same thing that I'm doing now. I'm doing my best. So if you are here for the first time, you may not know that we do a lot of mental health related like skills work over here. And the way in which I like to do it to make it like very easy and not overwhelming is that at the end of each video, we talk about a skill that you can practice for the next 30 days, just to kind of see how it feels. If it feels like it is suited for you. It's something that you can add to your toolkit to deal with what is coming up for you in this reading or any other life challenges that you experience, especially if they are mental health related. And if they don't feel like a good fit, no worries. You can always go to your sun, moon, or rising readings, look at those, the skills, even if you just skip to the end to just get the skills, to practice those. Yeah, that way over time you can develop more and more skills and feel more equipped to deal with just life in general, right? Because life gets stressful. So the one that we have here is goal effectiveness. So it says the acronym Dear Man has the building blocks for practicing assertiveness. We need to meet enough of others' wants and needs, but meeting enough of our wants and needs is equally important for healthy relations. In your interactions, consider the question of what you want or need from the interaction. Remember that assertiveness requires you to speak up and not just assume that others will automatically know or provide for your wants and needs. And so, one thing I want to mention with that is a lot of the things that we kind of assume that people are naturally good at really are not like inherent skills. They are skills, so they are learned and they are practiced. Whether we recognize ourselves as learning and practicing them, maybe that is a skill that they grew up having reinforced in their life, and so we kind of look at them and say, "Wow, they are a naturally assertive person." But really, it's kind of a skill that we can also practice. So for you guys, assertiveness is a skill that you are most likely learning and practicing, so that even in spite of, for example, that, walking on eggshells feeling, you can get a little bit more comfortable with still speaking up about what you need and want. Because I do want to mention that I feel like this is at least in my experience, and in the comment section, you guys can let me know if this is you too. But when I found myself like really, really struggling with assertiveness, and don't get me wrong, I'm not an expert at this. There are still moments and situations that pop up that I'm like, whoa, I have not dealt with this yet. I'm going to have to like re-practice this skill. But like definitely in the very, very beginning, like it was very hard to assert myself, especially when I felt like I had to walk on eggshells in specific situations. So, I think it's sort of related to that fear thing again, where the emotion, like unpleasant emotion, may not go away before you start to practice a skill, but in practicing the skill, the emotion, that unpleasant emotion will lessen. And I can say, at least in my experience, that has been the case. So, if I had fear of doing something and I was practicing a skill of assertiveness and continuously practicing and realizing that, okay, the worst thing someone can do is like get mad at me or tell me no or yell at me, and those things never happened to me. Practicing the skill, it just kind of lessened a lot of the anxiety that I had around speaking up about certain things. For me, one of the things I can relate to is like asking for help. That was where I needed to practice assertiveness. Like I felt so uncomfortable, like if, say for example, I was like ordering at a restaurant, I was not going to be the person to be like, oh, I didn't order this. Like, I would eat that damn food because they brought it, and I would be too scared to say something. So in practicing assertiveness, like that was one of the things that I was just like, all right, I'm going to tell them something's wrong with my order, or that I'd like this instead, or can I get another drink? Like those sorts of things. So each person's situation is going to be different, but hopefully you kind of get the gist. So yeah, Virgo, this is all that I have for you. I'm like looking at the cards just to make sure that we didn't miss anything. But yeah, this is all that I have for you guys today, Virgo. Thanks for being patient with me and like looking everywhere around the room. I promised I will get better with that. But thank you again for being here today. I hope that you found this reading to be confirmation of what you are currently experiencing, and that you always remember, please never forget, that you are doing the best in this present moment with the knowledge and the skills that you have. I truly do believe that. It was a therapist who initially told me that, and I was like, I will never forget to remind other people of that. So yeah, you guys, thanks for being here, and I will see you in your next reading. Bye, Virgo.